Hi, it's all snowy here. I'm in New York with Xotic pedals and Xotic guys. We're doing some video demonstrating some stuff, some new stuff, some old stuff. The amp that I'm using is this new Line 6, I think it's called the DT50. They just came out with it, and they last time I was playing in LA, they just came out with it and they asked me to come and check it out. And a lot of times when I play out, mostly in the States, if I can get one of those Line 6 amps, I actually prefer using those in a lot of the situations just because I know what I'm going to get out of it. Like there's like at least one really good sound that comes out of it, and it's a 412. It's got enough gain. And then because it's got the master volume and the volume and all those channel thing, I can actually get it to sound like it's compressing and to make it feel like I want it to feel. Because again, I don't play with a lot of distortion, so I need the amp to give me most of the sound. So this thing is actually really, really good. I played with it a couple months ago. I played Catalina's in LA, and I played with it, and it was fantastic. What I'm going to show today is this board that I have is basically my recording board. And I had problems using my other boards for recording for two reasons. One is every time I brought one of those boards to a recording session, I always went like, oh, I wish I had that other pedal, or I wish I had like the AC booster, I wish I had the fuzzy drive, I wish I had a tube screw drive. So it kind of turned into be, it didn't cover everything. And so I just decided to have a board that just has all my favorite boosters. That way, and I've done a bunch of recordings with it, and it really, really sounds great, especially for recording stuff. It's way too much for live because you don't need all those sounds when you play live. But for recordings, just to get different colors and to have control, this is really, really works out nice. So I'm plugging in my guitar into a Crybaby wah-wah, just an old one that was modified by my technician Ziv Nagari. And then I go to some Octafuzz. I have the Octavia by Chicago Iron. Those things has to be first in the chain before the buffer, otherwise it's kind of screwed up the sound. And then I got a bunch of the Xotic stuff that I'm going to talk about. So first of all, I have the RC booster that I basically have on all of my boards, and this is like the most important pedal, I don't know, that was invented in the last 50 years, to my opinion, for guitar. It's the thing about it is there's a bunch of functions that you can do with it, but the main thing about all those pedals are the fact that they're all really transparent. So once you put them on or off, it doesn't really color the guitar sound. It just either give it more body or just overdrive it a little, but you keep the same, the sound stays the same, like the size of the sound basically. So this is just, this is clean. And this is, it's just pretty flat right now, but clean, and that's with it. So, it's pretty transparent, and it just gives the sound much more body. It's really good for recordings because the EQ is really, really nice, and you can really control it and either make it like fatter or, I don't know, thinner, depends on the situation. Now, another thing that I do with it that it's super useful for me is a lot of the times if I play out of town, out of the country or whatever, I don't have any control over the amps that people bring me, the rental amps, which is a real drag. But this pedal a lot of times just saves the day because you can kind of tweak it with the gain. You can get it to the point where if the amp doesn't react the way you're used to an amp reacting, I can just have it on the whole time with the gain in some kind of, I guess, the sweet spot, and then it just makes the amp sound like it's compressing, and it just feels much better and it sounds much better. So this really helps me a lot, especially on the road. So that's the RC. Now then there's the AC, and I only started to use the AC, actually Eric Johnson turned me on to this pedal. And I knew of it and I had one, but it was never on my board. And then I was doing some stuff in Austin and Eric played with me and he brought one and it was really, really cool. It's almost like sound like, I guess if we put, this is without, this is with. With. Again, it doesn't color the sound much and it sounds a little like a little Marshall-y sounding to me. It's really full and it doesn't have that overdriven, like it doesn't have that kind of mid-range that a tube screamer has or a lot of overdrive pedals, but that's what that's why I like it. This is my main booster now with my other, when I do my blues band, this is like my main booster basically. So that's that, the AC. I have it pretty, the gain is on like 11, it's not much. But what I do, I don't like to have the gain up a lot. I like, because I'm cranking, it's kind of hard for me to crank the amp here. But usually how I get my sound is I crank the amp pretty loud and then it gets big. And then any of those boosters I'm using are just making the amp sound big. I don't like the sound to be too saturated because, to my opinion, it ends up sounding smaller. So that's the other reason those pedals work really good, because even if once you put them on, even if the sound is saturated, they still sound big. They don't sound like they get compressed or all that kind of stuff. Now the next thing is the BB preamp. Now this pedal is, if there's one pedal that I always take with me if I go to jam or if I have to be in a situation where I can plug into anything and I know it's going to work, is the BB Pre. And it's just a really, really good overdrive, and there's some kind of a amp character to it. So I played situations with this pedal where I had to plug into a keyboard amp and it actually sounded good. You know, it really is a really, really good sounding overdrive. So it's a little dirtier than the AC, and that's without it. And that's with, again, with the gain here is an 11. If I can put the gain on like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or something like that, then it really gets a little heavier. It's kind of interesting. I found that this pedal works for me really, works really well for me in recordings, because I use the 808, Tube Screamer 808 for a lot of stuff, which I really love. But there's something about this pedal when you record with that, it's almost like the sound is a little friendlier. The thing with the mid-range on a Tube Screamer can get really problematic sometimes. And this it's just got enough mid-range, and the EQ is really good that you can kind of get that sound, but it's a little, I guess it's a little friendlier than the regular, you know, Tube Screamer. So that's the BB. And again, this pedal I take everywhere I go. If I do a clinic or anything, it always works. You know, I can have like a lot of gain or very little gain, and it's just could feel good and sound good. Well, it's totally, to my opinion, the sound is totally different. This is like, the BB is more like it's almost more like an overdrive. They're both overdrives, but I'm trying to think of, well, this is. I guess this got a kind of a dip in the mid-range. Sounds a little bluesier, maybe. And the AC, I think, is just a very flat-sounding pedal. It's got all the range. That's why every time I play through it, it sounds to me like I play through it sounds like a Marshall a little bit, because it's got all the mid. It's got everything pretty equal. doesn't have that dip in the mid. See, even if I put more gain, it's pretty, it's almost like it's flat, you know what I mean? And this is more. Plus, I think the BB's got a little more gain if you want to get more gain out of it. But I think it's almost like the difference to me, the difference is an AC booster is more like a Marshall and a BB booster is more like a Fender or something like that. That's kind of that's to me, that's kind of the difference. A little, you know, there's some kind of a dip in the mid-range on the BB preamp.